Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MSHR podcast, or welcome back to the MSHR podcast brought to you by the Kellstadt Human Resources Management Society. Today, we have Khizer Nawaz, who is a very dear friend of mine, also a well known content creator and a accounts management and business development professional with years of experience in his arsenal. He is currently working at Deel HR as a global GTM, which I believe stands for Global Go to Market. And what sets Khizer apart is his passion for helping people become the best versions of themselves while continuously striving to better himself by at least 1% every day. I'm going to stop there. Khizer, welcome to the show, and you have the podium if you'd like to further introduce yourself or add anything that I may have missed.
Thank you so much, Hurriye. That was a very nice introduction, I would say. In fact, I'd like to be introduced that way wherever I go from now on. So thank you for that. Thank you for having me today. Like you mentioned, my name is Khizer, and currently I'm based out of Toronto in Canada. And yes, working as an SDR or global GTM, like Hurriye mentioned, for an HR and payroll company called Deal. That's all about me professionally. On the personal front, yes, I do like to help people, and more so, I would put it in a way that, every struggle that I've had personally in my own life, and, I've worked my way through solving those problems. I now want to help other people so that they have, someone to look up to, or they at least know that, okay, this person, he did it, so we can do it too. Which is why I also do, and I don't want to go into a detailed self promotion, but I also do my own podcast by the name of Watch Me When. Huri has been a guest on it twice now, and this is literally what we talk about. That what problems have we faced in life, and what all did we do to overcome them. So that I think that should be a short and sweet introduction about myself.
Thank you for that, Khizer, and truly appreciate everything that you're doing, especially to help, um, you know, people who want to create more space for themselves out there to grow, to be the best versions for themselves. And that sort of creates a segue into my first question, something related to that, which is you and I, we've both born in, another country, and then we came to North America. So you know what it's like to start life from scratch and build a career in a completely new geography. So I'm sure our audience would love to know, especially our international students, and they'd be curious to know about your experiences and how the journey has been for you professionally. Can you share more about that with us?
I'd love to do that. And yes, there's a lot of relatability between the two of us based on the fact that immigrating, packing our lives in two suitcases and moving 5 6 6,000 miles away from home isn't easy for anyone, and for at any age, I would say. So definitely, it is challenging. I think the best thing for any international student or working immigrant is that you finally realize you're on your own. So for instance, in our case, like, we're very dependent on our families when we're back home. But when we immigrate, it's like we're on our own now, which is very scary to begin with. But then it's also empowering in a way that now you know that, I can't play the blame game anymore. It's not like, oh, they did this, or, my friend did this, or, my background, blah, blah, blah. You can't blame externalities anymore. You're like, okay, from here on, I take full responsibility, and everything that I do is going to have a direct impact on my own life. So that is, I would say that is the biggest thing that you realize. And then I think whatever I say won't make a difference because the experience is unique to every individual. I think every individual has to go through a certain set of things to realize, how to adjust in a new country altogether, how to navigate, how to move around, be it personally, be it professionally, how to make those networks. And we can definitely dive more into it as we talk more today.
No, yeah, that's great. And I agree, like for any immigrant or international student, I think what you said, the first thing, that you can't blame externalities. Like it's such a different experience because you're coming out on your own and you're learning new things altogether. So I appreciate that perspective and that viewpoint. To sort of follow up on that, you're someone who's building a global career, and that's what, us students set out to do. So, what were the biggest challenges that you faced early on, especially as an international professional? How did you face them, and what skills helped you stand out early in your career, regardless of geography?
Got it. So I'll talk about the challenges and then what did I do to overcome those challenges. I think the top challenge, and my answer is specific to Canada, is my experience has been here, and my answer is again specific to sales because and tech sales because that's what I've done in the past 3 years. So coming to Canada, I think the top challenge is securing that first job. And you ask any immigrant, how was your experience getting that first job? And there'll be a long story behind it. Because let's be very frank, like it's not easy. In Canada, I'm not sure about other fields or other departments, but based on my experience, like they don't really regard the experience that you've had from overseas. Um, I mean, there's a way that you can present it that they will take it into account, but most cases that I've heard about is they don't really, take into account what you've done outside of Canada. So that is the first struggle now because everything that you've done, that you've learned is sort of irrelevant now because now this is a new market and you need to work in a way and present yourself in a way that's relevant to this market now. So that is the biggest challenge. The second thing is, let's say when we were back home, we went to school with a certain group of people. They intern at certain places, then they get jobs, then they move up to management, director, VP, CX level roles. So that way it's very easy because this group of people we're connected with, and then it's very easy to get those referrals while you're navigating the job market. Versus you come to a new country now and zero connection, zero network. So how do you get started is the first thing. So now I will say for international students, the onus is on you because no one is going to come and ask you, oh, we heard that you just came to our country. Tell us about yourself. What are you all about? No one's going to do that, honestly, because everyone has their own priorities and their own responsibilities to take after. So what you need to do is now you need to put yourself out there. How you're going to do it, I leave it up to you. You may be someone who's very good at writing. So go ahead, write about yourself, post about yourself, do that in text. You're someone who is very good with your vocal abilities, which is your communication, but you're not comfortable being on canvas. That's okay. We live in an AI world, create an AI video, and then just do a voiceover, introduce yourself. And by the way, I'm saying this in a way that I've done all of this. So I started with text, then I moved on to voiceovers, which was my initial YouTube videos. And now what I call the final level is when you're comfortable enough talking to people and have a conversation, a two-way conversation, like the one we're having right now. So this is what you need to do. You can do it online and you can do it in person. Excuse me. So online is doing podcasts, maybe just making videos about yourself and uploading it on the internet. And then versus in person is going to networking events. For myself, I joined something called Toastmasters. They meet on a weekly basis, and every week you have this time slot where you can practice your skills. So that's amazing. And again, you don't feel uncomfortable because that's a room full of people who are from different backgrounds, different age groups, and who, like you, want to work on their skills. So they are open to talking to you as well. And then networking events, there's a couple of different apps that you can use for it. Um, top of my mind, I can't really recall any top names of apps that I've personally used, but you can go on, App Store and see all these apps that are made solely for the purpose so that you can go out and then you can be picky about the kind of people you're meeting with as well. So you want to meet with sales professionals, marketing, HR, entrepreneurs. You can, pick and choose and then you can go to those events. So, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is you need to put yourself out there. You need to let other people know what you're all about, because that's how you're going to form connections. Now, not everyone you meet is going to click, but that's the thing. It's trial and error. You're going to go out, meet 100 people, maybe 10 or 5 of them click, and maybe 2 or 3 of those big set, end up helping you. So that's how I did it. And one thing I'll talk more about, because I want to don't want to prolong this answer anymore, is get a coach or a mentor. So I do want to talk about it, and maybe you can talk about it later today.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you, Faisal. And if we get the time, we will definitely talk about that. But definitely agree, increase your presence, let people know what you're all about, and network, super important. So now we're going to pivot a little and talk about your work within an HR software company. And this is something that's really interesting, with the advent of technology and how we're doing, how we're just approaching human resources. Um, can you tell us how important it is for companies to implement human resources information systems at their organizations? And in terms of scalability of the HR department, how important this is. You can like speak about your clients if you'd like, or your experiences in this whole regard, but we'd love to know more about that.
Would love to share more about that. So the company that I'm working for, it's called Deal. That's DEEL. It's a global HR and payroll company. And let's talk about my experience in this company itself first. It's completely remote, by which I mean that we do not have any physical offices anywhere in the world. And we're present in more than 150 countries. So we have, I think, more than 7,000 employees today. And we're present in more than 150 countries throughout the world, and everyone works remotely. So this kind of, fully remote culture at such a global level was something that was very new to me, because I have done hybrid roles, even remote roles in the past, but the way things are done here, there's something part of our culture called deal speed, which is to say that we move very quickly. Decisions are made quickly. Everything is done at such a pace that we're able to grow the company in a way that that hasn't been done before. So that is how my experience at Deal is. And then to your second question, like, let's talk about why this company came into existence and what kind of problems are we trying to solve. So traditionally, and Huri, you can relate to this because you've worked in HR as well. Traditionally, HR folks would use multiple separate systems. So they would use one main HRIS, they would use another payroll system, they would use an ATS for applicant tracking, and then they would use an LMS, that is your learning management system. So I'm just counting four, but we actually did a research, and HR folks actually use like 10 to 20 different systems on average, I'm talking about. So Deal came into existence so that you could consolidate all of these into one single system. Now, why would someone in HR want to do it? Not just HR, why would someone in HR or finance want to do it? Because number one, imagine the amount of time you save because you're not coordinating with 10 different vendors at one time. And 10 different vendors means that there are 10 receipts going out of your company at the same time. You're paying 10 different people. Now imagine just coordinating with one vendor, which would be Deal in my example, and they will take care of everything end to end. So from the moment an employee onboards, and even going back, when you're searching for an employee, and anywhere in the world, you can put it on Deal that this is the kind of employee that I'm looking for. Again, I work in sales. Let's take a sales example. I'm looking for a global sales manager. You will post it on Deal that this is the kind of profile I'm looking for. This is the salary range I want to pay. It will be a fully remote role, whatever the details are. We will source that talent, send it your way. Then once you end up hiring them, it will be done on the Deal platform. So they're hired. Now they need to be onboarded and trained. That will be done within our platform too. And then comes payday, when you want to run payroll, you can also do that within Deal. Another unique thing that was added while I was working here is we acquired an IT company. So we also do IT services now, by which I mean that anyone who needs to be sent a MacBook, a monitor, a laptop, a keyboard, anywhere in the world can be done through us. And obviously, there's a lot of detail to it. You want to buy your equipment, you want to lease it out. I won't go into it, it's not relevant at the time. But point is, you do everything through this one system. Otherwise, there is different systems, and in most cases, they don't even sync well with one another. So there's a lot of manual work. So you save on that manual work, you save on your admin time, and you save on costs. And in terms of scalability, that's actually a very good question, because that is also part of Deal's vision to help companies scale on a global level. Because when you're starting a company, when you're opening up an entity, let's say you're based out of US, Canada, and you're opening up an entity in Dubai, when you're starting out, it's going to be easy. You're going to open that entity up, you're going to hire people. But then what happens when your employee size or your headcount grows from 10 to 20, 20 to 100, 100 to 500? Whenever headcount is added, there is a cost linked to it, because now you have to search for those people, you need to onboard them, you need to run payroll, and it gets difficult if you're juggling between different systems. So Deal will help you in a way that, because we have a local presence. That's another thing that we talk about, that a lot of our competitors, they also support orgs on a global level, but they don't have their own infrastructure. So let's say if they are a US based company and they're helping you out in Dubai, chances are they might be partnering with a local firm in Dubai to help you out. With Deal, we have our own infrastructure in all the countries that we have a presence in. So you are talking to us, like we're not taking your data and giving it to a third party. That is a core thing that sets us apart. And I believe that helps answer your question.
It does. Thank you so much. And going back to your point about how having um one platform for all of your HR needs, like I've because I have worked in that department before, I have implemented an HRIS from scratch. I know the kind of issues that uh people face within the organization when you're dealing with a fragmented system. There's like 10 different platforms that you're utilizing, let's say for payroll, for performance management, for training, for attendance tracking, whatever, sky's the limit. So I do agree that it's so important to have one platform that is able to provide a level playing field where all of these different areas can talk to each other and communicate to each other. And I think it makes it easier for customizing as well. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that is such a big, big plus and positive to have. And just going back to that point, and just as a discussion, I would assume that this also makes scalability a lot more easier as compared to, let's say, a platform 10 years ago, which may have been just providing one service, and then you would have to go to another vendor for another service. So, do you think that other than Deal and looking at how the market is, would you say that there's a lot more scope for offerings like these that are more holistic in the offerings that they provide?
I think that's an excellent question. And to answer your question, I think the scope is greater than ever, especially post COVID, because we have been introduced to a new world now. I will say there's two things: post COVID, and now we're entering the AI age. So in the AI age where everyone's talking about, automizing things and, scalability and using less resources, doing more, I think now it's more important than ever to have a single system that could help you through and through. And why I'm saying that is because you mentioned there are other companies that have been in existence longer than Deal. But what we hear is that in today's world, you need to upgrade your system, right? What HR system you were using 5 years or 10 years before might no longer be able to support you, because now the needs have changed. So you need to update your system, and to keep your system up to date, Let me give you a small example. So each country has its own unique compliance, labor laws, tax laws, right? To be up to date, you need to have a person who's studying all these markets. If you have like employees in 10 countries, there's a person who's staying on top of this. Versus what we have within Deal is a compliance tracker. So it will automatically update compliance. Minimum wage is being updated in XYZ countries, it will be updated. So let's say you're hiring someone in India, and let's say I don't know what their minimum wage is, but let's say, for example, their minimum wage is 50,000 rupees. Now you're hiring someone and you put in the deal system that I'm going to pay them 40,000 a month. So the system is going to flag it and it's going to tell you that this does not even meet the minimum wage requirement, which is why, later on you could face some compliance costs. So it will not let you go ahead. And there have been so many cases where companies have come to us because they have had those legal cases because, they were non-compliant. And it happens more so with contractors, with part-time workers, because part-time workers work in a certain way. They are not like full-time employees. They are not given certain benefits that full-time employees are. They have their own schedule. They're hired for a specific period of time. So what happens in some cases is that although they are working and employed as a contractor, but they're made to do work that a full-time employee would do. That's a legal lawsuit that could be coming towards a company. So with our system, because it's inherently updated, and we make sure that it's compliant to the country that the company is hiring for. So it will not just help you on your day to day, but will also save on those legal costs. So we're in most cases we're also talking to legal teams because they are a core part of this entire HR process.
Thank you for answering that, Khizer. I feel like that's very helpful for, young professionals to understand how technology, specifically, HR specific technology can help with avoiding a lot of issues when it comes to, daily work and operational work. We are heading towards the close of the podcast, so I do have a last question for you, and then if you have a few minutes, we can talk more about coaching, like you had said. So looking back at your journey, what's one lesson that has shaped how you approach leadership and growth today? And I can clarify further if you'd like, but that is my final question to you.
All right. So I would say that whatever efforts that I do, be it, with my personal development, my professional development, even with the kind of content that I'm putting out, my core idea is to be the person who I needed when I was younger. Um, so I always, when I'm creating content or I'm trying to talk about something, the core idea is this. And I know, at least for myself, like I am an overthinker. So sometimes I will get into the details of things that, whether should I film this, should I post it out? So the idea is that I'm not really concerned that when I post something, what is the kind of reaction in terms of metrics, how many likes I'm getting, how many people are commenting on it. Because these days a lot of content creators are too fixated on the numbers. Those are important as well, but if you don't start with your why, I think it's easier to get lost. So with me, what I'll do is I'll say that what I'm about to post, for instance, when you ask me if I want to do this, what helped me say yes is I ask myself, is it going to help at least one person out there? So at least one person is going to watch this entire thing. Are they going to learn something out of it? And if the answer is yes, I go ahead and do it. So that makes it easier for me. So I would say, whenever you get a chance in life, help pave the way, pay it forward, because you have no idea, you have no idea, especially in this digital age, the kind of audience that is receptive of the content you're putting out. And it's these little things, like some on a random day, I'll get LinkedIn DM, or I'll get a message that something that I talked about, help another person and they want to learn more about it and they just want to thank me. I think little things like this, is what keeps me going. So that is my answer to the first part of your question. And I said I'd like to talk more about coaching and mentoring. I think it has been so important in my own journey because what I'll try to explain what coaching does. A coach is a person who's already invested time and money in a subject that is a similar subject that you want to learn about, right? Now you can do it on your own and it might take you 2 3 years to do it, or you can pay a coach, a good coach. That's the research you need to do on your own. You can pay a good coach and they can help you do the same thing in 3 to 6 months and maybe in a better way. So because they have the evidence, they've done it before, they are successful at it, they can definitely help you out with it. Personally, for myself, I've used a lot of mentoring and coaching, and whatever I've done couldn't have been possible without them. I think even before coming to Canada, I think you were one of them. Like I use you as a mentor to understand that I'm coming to this new market. How is it like? How should I move around? What are the things I should do even before landing that will, give me the edge and put me forward compared to others? So that is one thing. In terms of coaching for my professional journey, I've used coaches because my role is very sales intensive and outbound intensive. So I need to do a lot of outreach through email, through LinkedIn, and through calls. So I've used coaches to help me write better emails. I've used a coach to help me get better at public speaking, and this is other than Toastmasters. I've used someone to help me get better at calls. And yes, at the time when I was investing my hard earned money into it, I was questioning it. Is it even worth it? Because I didn't have evidence that it's actually going to pay me back, right? But looking back, I think it was totally worth it. And if anything that it has done is I am now more open to investing more into coaching and mentoring. And I want to do it myself as well for others, but I want to keep investing into it as well because I won't even say the returns are 1 to 1. I think if I invested X amount of money, the returns have been fivefold and tenfold, and you don't see it immediately. But like I said, once you go through your journey and then 2 3 years down the lane, you look back, you realize that it has helped you immensely. So I just want to put this short note on mentoring and coaching before we close out today.
Thank you, Khizer. I feel like firstly, it was great having you, and this was such a great masterclass on. I know we started discussing about, um, how to approach the journey as an international student or an immigrant, and how HR software works and all of that. But it's been a great masterclass on how to just better yourself on the daily. And definitely lots of great tips on how to improve yourself, how to network, how to create connections. So I really, really appreciate you, sort of going back in time in your own journey, bringing out examples to share with young students and early career professionals. So truly, truly, thank you so much for being here, for taking the time out. And we appreciate you sharing your experiences with us. You have a lovely day, and thanks once again.
Likewise, thank you for having me. I think this was great. Like I said, if it helps at least even one person, I think we've done our job here. So thanks
Yeah,
once
no,
again.
of course. Thank you so much. You take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.